Pudsey!
Fangface, let Puds out! The heap is getting away!
Saturday mornings in the 1970s and 1980s belonged to a specific kind of kid. The kind who woke up before anyone else in the house, dragged a blanket to the living room floor, and surrendered completely to whatever was on. Some of those shows left permanent marks. Others evaporated almost completely, surviving only in the memory of people who were there at exactly the right age to absorb them. Here are 10 cartoons you don't remember unless you're Gen X. Cartoon 10, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids, 1973. The name was a joke. The 1969 film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid starred Paul Newman and Robert Redford and had nothing whatsoever to do with Hanna-Barbera. The cartoon simply added an S to Sundance Kid, changing it to Sundance Kids, and hoped that would be enough legal distance to avoid any difficulties. It worked, apparently. The studio also made the character's name the Sundance Kids, rather than Sundance Kids in the formal credits, adding another thin layer of separation. Both tricks held, no lawsuit followed. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids premiered on NBC on September 8, 1973, produced by Hanna-Barbera, and ran for 13 episodes through December 1st of the same year. On the surface, it looked like every other Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning property of the era. A teenage pop group, episodic adventures, a comedy animal. But the twist was that the Sundance Kids were secretly working for the government.
Cats? Flake out?
Right on, Butch! I'm zonked!
Right on.
Their band was a cover. Their actual employer was the Worldwide Talent Agency, which was itself a front for a government intelligence operation. A supercomputer named Mr. Socrates issued their assignments and guided their missions. He was also, inexplicably and uncontrollably, severely allergic to Wally's dog Elvis. The score for the show was composed by Hoyt Curtin, Hanna-Barbera's long-serving in-house composer, who scored dozens of the studio's most recognizable properties. The allergy was not a one-time gag. It was a structural device. Every episode required the group to visit Mr. Socrates for their briefing, and every episode required Elvis to somehow make it inside, despite being banned from the premises. Elvis would find a way in on his own, or Wally would forget.
He must have the whole place bugged.
What are we going to do?
Be careful what we say and...
Or circumstances would conspire to bring him through the door. The moment Elvis entered, Mr. Socrates would begin sneezing uncontrollably. The computer would go haywire. The briefing would be disrupted. Then they would go on their mission anyway. The fact that an entire season of a Cold War espionage adventure cartoon for children hinged, episode after episode, on a dog making a computer sneeze is either the most absurd premise in Hanna-Barbera history or simply Tuesday. The complete series was eventually released on DVD in 2013 by the Warner Archive Collection, roughly 40 years after anyone thought to ask for it. Cartoon 9, Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch, 1974. Hanna-Barbera produced this one-season wonder for NBC, premiering September 7th, 1974.
Bad luck! Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I thought I said.
Ah, that's your superstitions, Cracker.
The premise was straightforward by the studio's standards. A heroic Volkswagen Beetle-style car named Wheelie and his girlfriend Rhoda faced down a motorcycle gang, the Chopper Bunch, led by a motorcycle named Chopper. All of the vehicles were anthropomorphized, which is to say, they had eyes in their windshields and mouths somewhere around their grills. None of them had drivers. None of them needed drivers. They existed in a world apparently populated entirely by self-driving, sentient automobiles, which the show treated as perfectly unremarkable. The question of what happened to the humans who presumably once owned and drove these vehicles was never addressed.
What a terrific landing, Wheelie. But where are the Chopper Bunch going?
Wheelie communicated not through dialogue, but through honks and beeps, a character defined entirely by vehicular sounds, requiring his girlfriend Rhoda to translate and contextualize for the audience. Rhoda spoke normally, the Chopper Bunch spoke normally, only Wheelie communicated in beeps. This made Wheelie essentially the animators' challenge to themselves. Tell a complete story every episode through the reactions of a character who could only honk. Rhoda was voiced by Janet Waldo, one of the most recognizable voices in Hanna-Barbera's roster, also known as Judy Jetson in The Jetsons and Josie in Josie and the Pussycats. The show ran for 13 episodes across a single season, canceled before anyone could ask the obvious question of what world these cars inhabited or how their society functioned.
Let's see. Ah, yes, have I got a wing for you?
The Chopper Bunch was a gang of motorcycle bullies in a world with no humans, which raises complicated questions about what exactly they were bullying people over and where they went when they weren't menacing Wheelie. The show did not engage with these questions. 13 episodes. Done. Cartoon 8, The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan, 1972. Hanna-Barbera returned to the Charlie Chan property, itself a long-running series of mystery films from the 1930s and 1940s, based on the detective character created by Earl Dare Biggers, and produced a Saturday morning animated series for CBS that premiered September 9th, 1972.
Now what would Pop do in a spot like this? I got an idea. Suppose I disguise myself as a movie star.
Running for 16 episodes through September 1973, the show featured Charlie Chan, now animated, and his 10 children, a vast family that included Ken, Alan, Stanley, Susie, Mimi, Anne, Tom, Flip, Nancy, and Scooter, solving mysteries as a team. The children were accompanied by a dog named Choo Choo, who possessed the show's most useful trait, the ability to transform into disguises on demand, shape-shifting into whatever form the current mystery required. Charlie Chan himself appeared but was, by the nature of the show's ensemble structure, less central than his family. The casting drew attention when the show aired. Key Luke, a Chinese-American actor who had himself played a character named Lee Chan in earlier Charlie Chan films,
If you're so smart, what's your idea? I'm thinking.
provided the voice of the animated Charlie Chan, which was considered a meaningful decision. The children's voices included several Asian American actors among the cast. The show occupies an uncomfortable position in the history of animated representation, given the Charlie Chan character's broader history as a problematic Hollywood construction. As a piece of production, it was competently made in Hanna-Barbera's standard Saturday morning style. It aired for one season, has never been widely available on home video or streaming, and exists primarily as a reference in the filmographies of its voice cast and the catalog of its studio. Cartoon 7, Fangface, 1978. Fangface debuted on ABC on September 9, 1978.
Treacherous and full of quicksand pits, but you're welcome to stay the night.
Produced by Ruby Spears Productions, the company formed by former Hanna-Barbera writers Joe Ruby and Ken Spears when they left to form their own studio in 1977. It ran for 16 episodes across its first season and performed well enough in the ratings to be renewed, though in a somewhat diluted form. The premise was Scooby-Doo with a werewolf instead of a Great Dane. 4 teenage friends, Pugsy, Biff, Kim, and Sherman, traveled the country and investigated mysteries. The twist was that Sherman Fangsworth could transform into a werewolf named Fangface whenever he saw the moon, or any circular object that resembled the moon, which the show exploited for repetitive comic effect every single episode. A lamp, a dinner plate, a porthole, a wheel of cheese.
And my
next plan is to transform the whole faculty into hulking monsters.
Anything sufficiently round could trigger Sherman's transformation into the fanged, hairy, perpetually hungry Fangface. The gang spent a significant amount of each episode trying to either prevent the transformation or trigger the reversal by covering up whatever round object had set it off. Fangface was voiced by Frank Welker, who gave the character an endearing quality that transcended the formula. His Fangface was cheerful and confused rather than threatening, a monster more interested in eating and expressing bewilderment than in frightening anyone. Welker played him as genuinely lovable, which was the correct instinct for a character whose comedy came from his inability to control his own supernatural nature.
Where's Pugs? Where is he?
The wolf form had a habit of accidentally eating or sitting on Pugsy during its more enthusiastic moments, which constituted the show's primary running physical gag across 16 episodes. The series was successful enough in ratings to earn a second outing in 1979 as Fangface and Fangpuss, which added a baby werewolf cousin named Fangpuss and shifted the format toward a somewhat younger audience. The expansion diluted the concept considerably. The original 16-episode run stands on its own as a functional Scooby variant with a specific visual identity and a voice performance from Welker that made the central character more memorable than the format deserved. Cartoon 6, The Skatebirds, 1977. The Skatebirds was a CBS Saturday morning variety program that premiered September 10, 1977, and ran through January 1978.
Oh, here comes Shelly.
Its host segment, the piece of programming from which the show took its name, featured 4 large birds, Scooter, Satchel, Knock Knock, and Scat Cat, who wore roller skates and appeared in live-action comedy segments between animated short segments. The animated portions included several separate short series: Mystery Island, which followed 4 children and their robot companion POPS, stranded on a mysterious island; Woofer and Whimper, Dog Detectives, which was itself a spin-off of an earlier CBS Saturday morning property called The Clue Club; and The Robonic Stooges, a segment in which the 3 Stooges had been given bionic implants and worked as cybernetic secret agents. The variety format meant that no single concept within the Skatebirds ran long enough to establish itself. The roller skating birds were the connective tissue, but they were also the least interesting element. They performed comedy routines and introduced segments in the same way a children's television host might, but without the warm presence that made human hosts effective. They were large foam birds on wheels in a studio, and the skating itself was the extent of their appeal. The show lasted 1 season. The animated shorts it contained were subsequently broken up and broadcast separately on other programs. The Skatebirds as a concept, the birds, the variety structure, the roller skates, vanished entirely and has never been meaningfully revived or discussed in any retrospective that wasn't specifically about obscure Saturday morning programming. Cartoon 5, Mr. T, 1983.
I'm in a hurry. I don't have time for this.
Mr. T, the actor and bodybuilder born Lawrence Turode, who had recently come to enormous fame through his role as B.A. Baracus on the A-Team and his appearance in Rocky III, became the subject of a Saturday morning animated series for NBC that premiered September 17, 1983, and ran for 30 episodes across 3 seasons until 1986. In the animated show, a cartoon version of Mr. T coached a gymnastics team. The team traveled to gymnastic competitions and consistently found themselves entangled in criminal conspiracies, kidnappings, and schemes that required both gymnastics expertise and Mr. T's particular approach to problem resolution. The gymnastics angle was unusual, Saturday morning action cartoons of the era did not typically build their premise around a competitive sport.
Bible means mercy. See, Job asked for pity. So when I pity somebody, truthfully, I'm loving them.
And gave the show a visual rhythm of flips, vaults, and floor routines interspersed with the standard chase and confrontation sequences. At the end of each episode, the real Mr. T appeared in a brief live-action segment to deliver a moral message directly to the camera, which placed the show firmly in the tradition of He-Man's post-episode ethics lectures and other mid-1980s Saturday morning civic responsibility segments. The animation was provided by Ruby Spears Productions. The animated Mr. T was voiced by Mr. T himself, which gave the character an authenticity that the otherwise standard Saturday morning action formula might not have sustained on its own. The show had a genuine energy in its voice performance that the animation quality didn't always match. Mr. T ran for 3 seasons, which made it more durable than most of its contemporaries, and significantly more than any entry lower on this list managed. Its cancellation in 1986 coincided with the declining ratings of the A-Team itself, and the 2 careers, fictional live action and animated, concluded in roughly the same period. A generation of children who had grown up watching the A-Team on Thursday nights found a version of B.A. Baracus coaching gymnastics on Saturday mornings, and apparently accepted this without requiring additional explanation. Cartoon 4, Turbo Teen, 1984. Turbo Teen aired on ABC beginning September 15, 1984, produced by Ruby Spears Productions, with animation by Toei Animation and Hanho Hung Up.
Guest of honor.
Don't come here, Turbo Teen! It's a trap!
It ran for 13 episodes and was, by any reasonable measure, one of the most genuinely strange premises in the history of American Saturday morning animation. Brett Matthews, a 17-year-old, swerves his red sports car off a road during a thunderstorm and crashes into a secret government laboratory. A molecular transfer ray, intended for other purposes, accidentally fuses Brett with his car. The consequence, whenever Brett's body temperature rises due to heat, exertion, or emotion, he transforms into the car. When he cools down, through cold water, cold air, or cold food, he becomes himself again. His friends, his girlfriend Patty, and his best friend Alex help him navigate this condition while also fighting crime, which is what you did with a supernatural condition in a Saturday morning cartoon in 1984.
Parking lot at our beach party.
I'm sure if anyone can do it, Patty, Dr. Chase can.
The transformation sequence, which Ruby Spears did not shy away from showing in full, was genuinely unsettling to watch. Brett's hands would expand into wheels. His feet would flatten and widen into tires. His torso would elongate and spread outward to the width of a vehicle. His face would stretch into a hood. The sequence was produced with the same detailed commitment an animator might bring to a werewolf transformation, and reviewers over the years have compared it specifically to the transformation scene in An American Werewolf in London, made 4 years earlier. For a Saturday morning cartoon aimed at children, the visual was confronting in ways that the cheerful adventure plot around it never quite addressed. The show borrowed its basic atmosphere from Knight Rider.
You're looking for a human. Yeah, if we could divert their attention, I can go in and untie Patty.
Which had debuted in 1982 and was at peak popularity during Turbo Teen's production. Brett's car form looked like an amalgamation of a third-generation Chevrolet Camaro and the Pontiac Trans Am, exactly the family of cars on which Knight Rider's kit was later based. The visual design of Brett's car form was developed by Jack Kirby, the same legendary comic book artist who had worked on Thundarr the Barbarian, giving the show a production pedigree behind the scenes that it never quite lived up to in front of the camera. Frank Welker, one of the most prolific voice actors in animation history, provided the voice of the show's main villain, the Dark Rider, as well as numerous supporting characters across the 13 episodes. 13 episodes, canceled.
Nice going, Rusty. I guess we have to swim for it.
Remembered by almost no one except the people who caught it at exactly the right age and have never been able to fully shake the image of a teenager slowly becoming a car. Cartoon 3, Thundarr the Barbarian, 1980. Thundarr the Barbarian premiered on ABC on October the 4th, 1980, produced by Ruby Spears Productions, and ran for 21 episodes across 2 seasons, with reruns appearing on NBC in 1983. It was created by Steve Gerber, the comic book writer responsible for Howard the Duck at Marvel, and represented, at the time, one of the most ambitious and visually distinctive pieces of Saturday morning animation produced in America. The show had no connection to a toy line. It had no tie-in merchandise to sustain it commercially. It existed purely as the creative vision of its writers and designers.
I wonder, when the danger comes, we will face it.
Can't argue with that. My mind is now at ease.
Which was unusual for its era, and is part of why it never found the commercial traction that He-Man or Transformers generated. The premise was post-apocalyptic. In the year 1994, then the near future, a runaway planet hurtled between the Earth and the Moon. The catastrophe cracked the Moon in half and collapsed human civilization entirely. 2,000 years later, in a world of savagery, super science, and sorcery, the muscular warrior Thundarr, once a slave, freed by Princess Ariel and armed with a sun sword whose energy blade could cut through nearly anything, traveled the devastated landscape of what had been the United States with his companions. Princess Ariel was a sorceress. Ookla the Mock was a large, leonine, Wookiee-like humanoid who communicated through growls and roars.
To the humans now.
A visit to our cellar may change your mind.
Thundarr was voiced by Robert Ridgely, Ariel by Nellie Bellflower, and Ookla by Henry Corden. Every episode set its action in the ruins of a recognizable American city. New York, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Seattle, Boston, Denver, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Cape Canaveral. The destroyed skylines and half-submerged landmarks gave the show a specific visual texture that no other Saturday morning cartoon attempted. Children watching in 1980 at the height of Cold War anxiety understood, without being told, that this was what nuclear war looked like 2,000 years after it was over. Gerber and his writing staff, which included comic book writers Roy Thomas, Martin Pasco, and Buzz Dixon,
Spell will fail again? I warn you! Go ahead, destroy me!
were not making a joke. They were telling a genuinely dark story through a Saturday morning format and trusting that children could handle it. The characters were designed by Alex Toth, the legendary comic book artist who had also designed Space Ghost and Birdman for Hanna-Barbera. When Toth became unavailable to continue, Jack Kirby was brought in at the suggestion of Gerber and animation veteran Mark Evanier to design the show's villains, secondary characters, and creatures. The recurring villain Gemini bore a notable resemblance to Kirby's DC Comics villain Darkseid. The name Ookla itself came from a dinner conversation between Gerber and writer Martin Pasco near the UCLA campus, where Pasco jokingly suggested naming the Wookiee-like character after the university's initials.
Can you handle the ship, Ookla?
Pronounced phonetically. The show was canceled not because of ratings, but because Gary Marshall, whose Happy Days had made him enormously powerful at ABC, needed the time slot for an animated version of Mork and Mindy. Thundarr, which had been building toward a potential third season, was removed from the schedule to accommodate Marshall's request. A planned Sunday comic strip illustrated by Jack Kirby was canceled before any strips reached print. The complete series was released on Blu-ray by the Warner Archive Collection in 2021. Cartoon 2, Galaxy High, 1986. Galaxy High debuted on CBS on September the 13th, 1986. and ran for 13 episodes across a single season, canceled, and never revived.
I'm a big man, Miss Babel, with big plans, and I'll show what I can do right out there.
It was created by Chris Columbus, the same Chris Columbus who wrote the screenplays for Gremlins and The Goonies in 1984, both of which are regularly cited as definitive Gen X films. Columbus would go on to direct Home Alone in 1990, Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in 2001. Galaxy High was an early career project, made between the Gremlins/Goonies period and his emergence as a major director. The premise plays two Earth teenagers, athletic, popular Doyle Cleverlobe, and nerdy, awkward Amy Brightower, at Galaxy High, an intergalactic high school populated by students from hundreds of different alien worlds. The joke, inverted from its expected direction, was that Doyle, the cool kid on Earth,
Better hurry, Doyle. You've already been late 5 times this month.
Okay, Locker, open up. I'm late.
was hopelessly average and largely invisible at Galaxy High, while Amy's intelligence and adaptability made her immediately successful and popular. The show ran the high school social hierarchy premise through an alien filter and found something genuinely funny in the reversal. It was more clever structurally than most of its Saturday morning competition, and the writing had a sharpness that reflected its creator's background. The animation was notable for the density and creativity of its background character designs. Every scene at Galaxy High was populated with alien students whose designs were deliberately strange and inventive. Creatures of wildly different shapes, colors, and configurations filling the hallways and cafeteria in ways that rewarded attention and made repeated viewing of the same episode yield new discoveries.
Salutations, Doyle. Please move aside. Blocking the halls is against the rules.
Don Bluth, then at the height of his reputation following The Secret of NIMH and The Land Before Time, served as animation supervisor for the pilot episode, which gave the show's opening installment a visual quality that the subsequent CBS budgeted episodes couldn't consistently maintain. The show's problem was not quality, but timing and context. It arrived in 1986 in a landscape dominated by toy-driven action-adventure properties like Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Thundercats. A CBS, Saturday morning comedy without a toy line attached, had difficulty competing for time slots, promotional resources,
You better tell me more about this phenomenon.
or the kind of audience attention that merchandise kept alive between episodes. 13 episodes. Canceled. Cartoon 1, The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan Replacement, Clue Club, 1976. Clue Club premiered on CBS on August 14, 1976, and ran for 16 episodes through January 1977. It was produced by Hanna-Barbera and was, by the studio's own internal logic, essentially Scooby-Doo with 2 dogs instead of 1, and a slightly more procedural approach to mystery solving. The show existed in the crowded Scooby-Doo adjacent space that Hanna-Barbera filled throughout the 1970s, with an apparently inexhaustible series of variations on the same formula. The club consisted of 4 teenagers, Larry, Pepper, Dee Dee, and Dottie,
Universal Paper Company.
Now we'll find out who bought that paper.
who also had 2 dogs, Woofer, a large hound, and Whimper, a smaller, more timid companion. The twist that Clue Club claimed over Scooby-Doo was methodical. Larry and Pepper were designated as the serious detectives, who actually investigated, gathered evidence, and reasoned through cases using something approaching deductive logic. Dee Dee and Dottie, along with the 2 dogs, were the comedy element, who stumbled through situations and generally got in the way. The show structured itself around a genuine attempt at mystery plotting, with suspects, clues, and red herrings organized more carefully than the average Scooby episode required. Whether children watching in 1976 appreciated this structural distinction over Scooby's more chaotic approach is a question the ratings answered in Scooby's favor.
My house tonight at 8:30. So long, monster.
Hey, great, a party!
Woofer was voiced by Bob Hastings, known to television audiences as Lieutenant Elroy Carpenter on McHale's Navy. Whimper was voiced by Paul Winchell, who also voiced Tigger in Disney's Winnie the Pooh productions, Gargamel and the Smurfs, and Goober and the Ghost Chasers. Between them, they brought a genuine comedic rhythm to the dog characters that elevated material that could easily have been interchangeable with the show's many competitors. The show ran for one season. Woofer and Whimper subsequently appeared as a short segment within the Skatebirds variety program in 1977, which is how most of the characters in this list tended to continue after their original series ended, absorbed into anthology programs and variety formats, visible in brief segments before disappearing entirely. These 10 shows existed. Children who were the right age in the right years watched them with the same devotion they brought to everything else on Saturday morning. The fact that almost no one outside that specific window of time has any memory of them is simply how it worked. Cartoons arrived and went, the schedule changed, the years moved on, and most of it stayed only with the people who were there. If you made it all the way to number 1, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. There is a lot more where this came from.